Hair porosity may not be a term you hear often, but knowing what type of hair porosity you have can help you better understand how to manage, treat, and care for your hair, and that can lead to a hair that is healthier and stronger. Most times we talk about products that we buy don't work for us and we end up getting frustrated. So I'm going to be talking about hair porosity and all you need to know about hair porosity and how it can help you to get products that work for your hair and know what your hair needs in particular. We're going to look at what affects the porosity of your hair, how can you figure out what type of hair porosity you have, and depending on the hair porosity you have, how best can you treat your hair. So in the background on this video, I'm currently taking down my long-term protective hairstyle. It's been 2 months, so that's what I'm going to be doing at the background while we discuss all things hair porosity. So the first thing is hair porosity. What is hair porosity? Hair porosity is the ability to absorb and retain moisture. This affects how well oils and moisture pass in and out of the outermost layer of your hair known as your cuticle. Hair porosity is typically divided into three broad categories. We have the low porosity, which means that your cuticles that are close together. We have the medium porosity, which means your cuticles are less tightly bound together. Then we have the high porosity, which means your cuticles that are more widely spaced. To understand the concept of hair porosity, it helps to know a bit more about the structure of your hair, which consists of three layers. These layers include the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. So the cuticle, this is the tough and protective outer layer of your hair that is made up of smaller cuticles that overlap each other. The cortex, this is the thickest layer of your hair. It contains fibrous protein and the pigment that gives your hair its color. And the medulla is the soft and central part of your hair shaft. So for your hair to stay healthy and hydrated, water, oils, and other moisturizing products need to be able to pass through the cuticle to get to the cortex. But if the cuticles are too close together, it is not easy for water and oils to penetrate the hair. This can make it a bit harder for your hair to get the moisture that it needs. Also, if the cuticles are too widely spaced, your hair will have a harder time retaining that moisture and staying hydrated. I know this sounds a little bit confusing, but this is just to differentiate between hair porosity and what type of hair porosity, because like I mentioned before, hair porosity is how your hair retains and absorbs moisture. So porosity just mainly is talking about moisture, and in general your natural hair needs moisture to be able to grow well, to stay healthier and stronger. So we're just trying to categorize what type of hair porosity you fit in. So we're going to talk about what causes low and high hair porosity. How your hair absorbs and retains moisture is largely due to genetics. So if you have low hair porosity, it definitely runs in your family, and it's a good chance that you also have low hair porosity too. Like if everyone in your house has low hair porosity, you're definitely going to have low hair porosity. But while genetics can affect your hair porosity, it also isn't the only contributing factor to this. Blow drying, bleaching, straightening your hair, overwashing, and using harsh products can all damage your hair over time, and this can cause your hair cuticle to become raised and open, which may be harder for you to retain moisture. In addition to hair treatments, too much ultraviolet exposure like from the sun can also increase the porosity of your hair. To protect your hair from the sun, wear a hat or some type of head covering when you're outdoor. That's also something that can affect your hair porosity. So I'll be talking about hair porosity, hair porosity, hair porosity. So you want to know how to actually test for what type of hair porosity you have. It's a very easy test that you can do at home. So the first thing you're going to do is to make sure your hair is clean. So you want to make sure you shampoo and rinse your hair to remove any form of product buildup. Then you get a glass of water. I prefer you get a glass so that you can be able to see what you're doing. Then once your hair is clean and dry, drop a single strand of your hair into that glass of water. What I always mention is that it's best to use your shredded hair, not for you to cut your hair. So just make sure you get any form of shredded hair. How to know it's a shredded hair is that if it's the full length of your hair and it has that white bobs at the ending part, you know that okay, this is a shredded hair. So try and use a shredded hair. Then you watch the strand to see if it sinks to the bottom of the glass or if it's floating at the top. If the strand floats at the top before sinking, you likely have low porosity hair. If the strand floats somewhere in the middle of the glass, you probably have medium or normal porosity hair. And if the strand quickly sinks to the bottom of the glass, you likely have high porosity hair. So that's like the easiest test you can do. And there's also something you can also do. You can also test your porosity level by running your finger down the strand of your hair. Low porosity hair will feel smooth, whereas if you have high porosity hair, you feel rough and bumpy because of your cuticles are open. So technically what this test means is that if you have high porosity hair, because your hair strand sinks immediately to the bottom of the glass, it means that your hair cuticles are open, so it absorbs moisture very easily and fast. And also because your cuticles are open, so when it absorbs that moisture, it also doesn't retain that moisture for a longer period because your cuticles are open. So once the moisture is absorbed to your hair, you can easily lose that moisture. Then for low porosity, when it means that your hair strand floats at the top before sinking in slowly, it means that your hair doesn't absorb moisture very fast because your cuticles are tightly closed. That means your hair doesn't absorb moisture, so you need to do things to open up your cuticles for your hair to absorb moisture and also closing it back. So that's technically what the test means. And if you have normal hair porosity, it means that it can go either way. Your hair also absorbs moisture easily and it also can retain that moisture. So you're just in a middle ground. So that's what the test means. So we're going to move on to the characteristics of low porosity hair. With low porosity hair, the cuticles are tightly packed and very close together. This makes it harder for moisture to penetrate the hair shaft. That's what I spoke about when I said like the result of the test and what it means. You may have low porosity hair if hair products tend to sit on top of your hair and do not absorb easily. Like I mentioned, your cuticles are close to it, your product or your moisture water doesn't really absorb to your hair, so it just sits on your hair shaft. And the next thing is that it's harder for water to saturate your hair when you're washing your hair. You notice that when you're washing your hair is not fully saturated, your hair doesn't absorb the water doesn't penetrate your hair shaft. You just notice that the water isn't getting to your hair doesn't feel moisturized, it's just sitting on your hair strands. The next thing that it takes a long time for your hair to air dry. So with porosity hair, if the moisture gets absorbed to your hair, it's going to take a very long time for your hair to air dry because your cuticles are closed. So when that moisture finally gets in, it's very, very hard for it to just air dry fast and like for your hair to get dry. So that's another thing, characteristics to look out for to know if you have a low porosity hair. Okay, we're going to move on to the characteristics of medium porosity hair. With medium or normal porosity hair, the cuticles aren't too close together, but they aren't open either. This allows moisture to penetrate easily and also makes it easier for you to retain moisture for a longer period of time. You may also have medium hair porosity if your hair is easy to style and can hold styles for a very good length of time. If you notice that your hair takes color well, like when you're doing any form of temporary dye or anything, like your hair takes in color well, or your natural hair color is just one particular color. And also, if you notice that your hair tends to look healthy, shiny, or glossy, that means you have medium hair porosity. And if it doesn't take too long for your hair to air dry, also means you have medium hair porosity. Heat damage and other chemical processes can also cause normal porosity to change over time. Like I mentioned, with your hair takes color well, I mentioned temporary dyes, not the one that you have to use chemical to bleach your hair, or your hair color, your natural hair color is just one particular color. So this is the characteristics for medium hair porosity. So the next thing is the characteristics for higher porosity hair. Whether due to genetics or hair damage, high porosity hair allows moisture to be absorbed into the hair shaft easily, yet it isn't able to retain moisture for a long time. This is because the cuticles tend to have gaps or spaces between them. You may have high hair porosity if water and other moisturizing products are quickly absorbed into your hair. Like I mentioned before, your hair shaft and your cuticles are open. That means it's easy for moisture or product to go, like for your hair to absorb all of that. And if your hair tends to break easily, that's another sign you have high porosity hair. If your hair tends to be frizzy and dry because you have high porosity hair, your hair absorbs moisture easily, but it doesn't retain that moisture. So your hair tends to be dry a lot. If you're not constantly if you're not constantly sticking to your routine, you notice that your hair is always dry. And if it doesn't take much time for your hair to air dry, that's another sign that you have high hair porosity. So I'm also going to mention that I have high porosity hair. So all of these things are something I'm used to. That's why I have a very, very strict routine that I follow for me to keep my hair healthier and for my hair not to break a lot. Like I mentioned, one characteristic is that your hair is going to break very easily because when your hair is dry, it breaks. So that's why it's there. So that's why I have a routine that I stick to. So if you want to see my routine, I have so many videos with my routine on my channel, so you can just watch that for if you have high porosity hair, so that you can relate more to someone with your particular hair porosity. I know most people ask many questions like, please, can I change my hair porosity? I do not like my hair porosity. What can I do to reverse what particular hair porosity I have? So with hair porosity, there are pros and cons to every hair porosity. So I wouldn't say that if you have this hair porosity, you're cool, you're good. Only if you have medium hair porosity, I think that's like the good in between. But if you fall in the category of low porosity and high porosity and you're like, I don't like this, I don't like this. So yeah, just listen to what I have to say. So if you have high or low hair porosity due to genetics, you may not be able to change it. However, according to hair care experts, there are things that you can do to make your hair healthier and more manageable and easier to style. So genetics play a major role to the type of hair porosity you have, which you cannot change, but there are ways to manage and take care of your hair. With hair, everything is taken care of it. Even those with medium porosity, they still have to take care of their hair. So it's not something that you should shy away from. That's why hair care routine is there. It's a constant thing. Hair is something that you generally have to take care of. The way you take care of your skin, the way you take care of your body is the same way you take care of your hair. So that's why I said that there are pros and cons to every hair porosity, but you just have to find a good routine and stick to it. I'm going to talk on low porosity hair first. So the first thing is use protein-free conditioners. This tends to be more easily absorbed into your hair and may be less likely to cause product buildup. So if you have low porosity hair, you're going to have a lot of buildup because your hair doesn't absorb moisture easily. People tend to use thicker products thinking that it's going to make their hair absorb that product or water or whatever. So that's a mistake you're making. You need to find products that are more hydrating and water based, because build-ups, you can get a lot of build-ups doing this because the products are just going to lie down on your hair shaft. And I mentioned that your hair doesn't air dry fast, so it's just going to be there, and this is going to cause a lot of build-ups, and you don't want that. That is going to restrict your hair growth. So you need to make sure that you use protein-free conditioners because these are not thick and they won't weigh down on your hair. So next thing is apply conditioners to the hair when it's already wet. Diluting the conditioner may make it easier to be able to be absorbed into your hair. So when you have low porosity hair, tend to do your routine when your hair is already wet. It's a lot easier for you to get your product in and for you to easily get that moisture into your hair. So the next thing is look for ingredients like glycerin and honey in shampoos and conditioners. Avoid products with oils as they tend to have a harder time penetrating your cuticles. So make sure you do this. So the next thing is apply heat when you condition your hair. Use a steamer, a heat cap, or a hooded dryer, or if you don't have those, put a shower cap over your hair once you've added a conditioner. This helps to open up your cuticles for your hair to be able to absorb that moisture. So this is one way you can get your hair moisturized and hydrated and not the product just sitting on top of your hair. So for high porosity hair, the thing you should do is look for ingredients like butter and oils in your shampoo and conditioner. These ingredients will help your hair to stay moisturized. If you're not new to my channel, you know I always rave about using shea butter and herbal oil on my hair because it helps to keep my hair moisturized. But not just putting that in, I always go in with a conditioner or a water-based product. You don't put in oils and butter on your hair just like that. Make sure you have a conditioner or a liquid-based product first off, because that's the moisturizing ingredient. Then you put the butter and your oils to make sure to lock in that moisture. That's how you can keep your hair, because like I mentioned before, your hair with absorb moisture but it doesn't retain it. So this is one way to lock the moisture in for your hair to be able to retain that moisture for a longer time. Then use leave-in conditioners and sealers. That's what I just mentioned, using leave-in conditioners and sealers. That's what I mentioned before. Make sure you're going with a conditioner or a liquid-based product first off before you use your sealers, which are oils and butters. Use heat protectant product on your hair. Apply this product before you blow dry or use any form of heat styling treatment. This helps to protect your hair from heat damage, because your cuticles are open. You don't want heat damage on your hair because your hair is already, your cuticles are already in that state. So you want to make sure that you always use heat protectant if you use heat. Like for instance, I do not use heat on my hair. So because I have high porosity hair, I do not want to cause any further damage to my hair. Like this is already genetics, but if you do use heat on your hair, you're going to cause a lot more damage to your hair. Then avoid using hot water when shampooing your hair or conditioning. Use lukewarm water instead. So I always mention that if you're washing your hair or you're doing your routine, make sure you use lukewarm water, or sometimes I use cold water also. Not cold like cold, but just normal temperature water can also do. So we're finally coming to the end of this video, but one thing I will say is that hair porosity is one crucial thing you should know first off. If you're starting your natural hair journey or you have hair in general, hair porosity is something that you must know, because it helps you to be able to take care of your hair. Knowing your hair porosity helps you to know what products to use, the technique to use in taking care of your particular hair, and also how to get your hair healthier, stronger, like growing a healthier hair, having a longer hair. You need to know your hair porosity, something that you can do very easily. It's not something that you have to go out and do it. Something that you can do at home. Is very easy to do. So I'm going to be making this is going to be like a 3-part type of video, because I want to go more in depth in high porosity hair and low porosity hair. So if you want to see that type of video, just make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to talk about high porosity hair more. The products, I'm going to recommend products. I'm going to give you a routine, like how to take care of your high porosity hair. And I'm also going to do that for low porosity hair. I don't have low porosity hair, but I'm going to do a lot of research to give you the best technique, products, routine for low porosity hair. So don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions in the comment section, leave it in the comment section. I reply to all my questions, and let me know what you think about this video. If you've known about hair porosity, or if this is your first time hearing about it, and it will hopefully it will help you to see why your hair journey is being difficult, or why products are not working for you. Because buying products and spending money on it and finding out it doesn't work for you can be very frustrating. So to avoid that mistake, I suggest just do your hair porosity now. It's a very easy test. Just get that glass of water and do your hair porosity test, just to be sure that you're on the right track. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.